tax planning is literally planning out your life. What are you doing with every dollar that has been spent or are going to be spending for the year? Where the tax advice piece comes in is that execution piece. What are you executing on, right? What are you changing? And that's where you're going to your tax professional to execute on the plan that your advisor has built.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Next Mile. I'm your host, Kyle Van Pelt, co-founder at Milemarker. And today I am joined by Torie Happe. Torie is the head of partnerships at Holistiplan, and she is a former San Diego State University volleyball player, but also a current weekend volleyball player, still shredding it up on the court. Torie, thanks for joining the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course. It's always good to see you. For a lot of people who don't know, Torie and I actually used to work together at Riskalyze. I think now they call it Nitrogen. We both used to do partnerships together there, and then we've gone on our own paths. So it's great to reconnect and be able to have this conversation to hear what you're up to at Holistiplan.
Yeah, it feels like eons ago, and all of our children are now ginormous and preteens, and they were babies when we started. So that's always fun to watch too.
Yeah, it's a fun way to think about the time passing. Speaking of time passing, so we ask everybody the same first question from this. And it actually originated with a mutual friend. It was when Tony Steach was on this podcast is where we started taking this segment and making it canon. So shout out, Tony. Hope you're doing well. So the question is basically about how you got into the industry. But what I've found is hundreds of these conversations, everybody has a unique path to this space. Some people maybe followed in family footsteps, like their dad or mom or grandma or grandpa was in the space. Other people didn't even know this was an industry, and they have a whole career and they come in the side door and they did it. But what we found is traditional or untraditional, everybody has what we call a money moment. It's that moment in your life where the light bulb clicks and you're like, this is it. This is what I want to do. So for you, you could have done all kinds of stuff, right? You could have gone a bunch of different directions. And I know some of the paths that you had available to you, but you ended up in financial services. So what was the money moment that led you to sitting in the chair you're in now, having this conversation today?
This is a great question. I always laugh because people, that is always real common, like, oh, I followed my parents into the services or whatever. I could not be more different than what my parents did for a living. So my dad is a park ranger. A side note, hate camping. So being his daughter was really hard. And my mom was an ER nurse. So again, very opposite direction of both my parents. I don't do blood and guts. Like in an emergency situation, I can absolutely help you out. But like after the situation is over, I will either have passed out or thrown up. Definitely couldn't follow my parents in either one of their footsteps as much as they wanted me to. I always loved the idea of saving for something and being able to buy like whatever I wanted. I will say my childhood was really comfy. I never wanted for anything. My parents pretty much, if I asked for it in with barriers around it, like I pretty much could have what I wanted if I had a compelling conversation around what I wanted. But there are a few things that my parents are always like, no, you absolutely do not need that. Or when you start playing club sports, I'm sure parents out there, like it starts to get very expensive very quickly. So if I wanted to play on a club team, my parents were like, you need to get a job and pay 25% of the club fees for that. So I was always really interested in like the aspects of like how to make my money go further, because like working hard for your dollar, I also wanted to do that in the shortest amount of time that I needed to do it. Getting into like finance was definitely something that I was like, this could be something that I could figure out pretty quickly. I also didn't go to school for finance, which is also really funny. I wanted to be a lobbyist. I really loved politics. I like to have open conversations with everyone and anything, but fairly quickly learned in an internship that was not what I wanted to do. Like those people scared the bejesus out of me. Like I have seen the underbellies of like city planning. Like I don't ever want to see that again. And I had to fall back on my second major of accounting, which is also slightly terrifying because I'm really bad at math. So like getting into finance was like the kind of the way that I could have that budgetary moment of like, I can help people like figure out how to make their money grow, but also like myself. And then the tech side of it started bubbling up after I graduated, quickly learning that broker dealers weren't adopting tech. The idea that someone handed me a paper file of like people's information and asked me to fax it somewhere. To this day, I still don't know where I faxed this account to. Like I had to ask someone how to use a fax machine, like who still even used those. I thought it was really archaic. The fintech side of the world was like starting to bubble up when I was starting to have these like existential crisis moments of like, yeah, finance is cool, but like, guys, we have these things called computers that we could use to make this better. And so being able to find that like tech side of things, but also like helping finance world out was my side door in, but definitely was not my parents. My parents can't even figure out what I do. I think they think I work for like the CIA. But yeah, definitely my parents, they're very proud of what I do, but they have no idea what I do.
Yeah. Well, maybe not the CIA, but maybe close with the IRS with what you guys do on the tax side of things.
Yeah.
So appreciate you sharing all of that background. So let's talk a little bit about Holistiplan. So I always think, about our time out. And when I look at Holistiplan, I see so many parallels in the way that it's grown, the way the product really simplified something that was complex before, but you guys have taken something complex and made it simple. You've made it advisor facing, like beyond my little helicopter view there. Like, what do you think has made you guys go viral or as viral as things go in our space?
Yeah, you're right. Like we took something really complicated and made it really simplistic for an advisor to understand. And Roger, when he was building this, his whole idea was like build for the nerds. We understand that there are advisors out there that are doing this pen to paper. How do we help them just become even nerdier and create this environment in this community, really? He built it out of the NAFTA space because that was where he was an advisor himself. So he had that community behind him to rally around to say, am I on the right track? Is this something that like is even possible for advisors to even want to tackle? And once he got it out there, clearly like advisors loved it. But yeah, taking that complex thing and making it really simple. I will say, like, even when I came on board 4 years ago, like I was I'm still no tax expert, but like the ability to like plug in my own return and like see it and understand exactly what's sitting in front of me, like that was an aha moment for me because honestly, like I was just the type of person that we went to our tax professional, we filed, like gave them all those papers and was just like crossing our fingers that we didn't owe a whole bunch. And then they would say, yes, this is what you need to do. I'd write a check. I'd file away whatever they give me, never once look at it. Could be wrong, could not be. So being able to have that aha moment with a client of, hey, this is actually important that you should look through was really eye-opening. And like you said, it was very Riskalyze-esque, right? Taking something very complex and making it simple to have that very open dialogue for a client.
Yeah, that's awesome. So one thing I think is unique that I bet a lot of people who aren't that familiar with Holistiplan, maybe I've heard of it before, but never really dove deep, is it's not just taking the tax return and being like, all right, now your advisor knows more about your taxes, but it is actually surfacing planning and advice opportunities because of what they see on the tax return, right?
Yeah. So the big greatness of the tax report at the end of it are these observations of what you could be doing better at the end of the day and taking those observations and putting them into the scenario analysis to then start that real conversation around tax planning. There's always this debate between tax planning and tax advice. And what our scenario analysis tool allows that advisor to do is really that tax planning piece. Maybe this client is a pre-retiree couple that hasn't looked at a Roth conversion. When is the best time to do that Roth conversion? We can help you out, have that conversation. We can also have simple conversations of your kids are turning 25 and they're rolling off your insurance. Are you prepared for that? Are they prepared for that? And bringing in that next gen of clients, those kids they have their own return too. Are they starting their planning needs? I joke that everyone down to your paper boy has a tax return. So they should all be really having this open conversation. Now, my 12-year-old definitely does not need to have straight tax advice, but again, needs to understand like the concept of taxes. So being able to have that next gen conversation with the children of your clients is really important for your book of business to continue to grow, right? You don't want to lose that relationship because if you don't have a relationship with those children at the end of the day, that legacy past may not happen if you're not having that. So this is just another way to have that legacy conversation with your clients as well.
Yeah, that's great. What do you think is the bridge between tax planning and tax advice? And the impetus behind my question is it seems like more and more larger RIAs are trying to bring more services like this in-house. Maybe some of them have even acquired CPAs, but they're definitely trying to say, hey, we offer tax now, we offer estate, we offer a lot of these things as a part of what we do. Obviously, advisors using Holistiplan can do more of a planning exercise, but then marrying it with tax advice. What do you think is the bridge there? And can smaller firms do that as well? Or is that only reserved for bigger firms?
We actually think that it's better for the smaller firms. Yes, we love to work with the larger firms, but the bigger firms are the ones that kind of have that gap. Smaller firms have that gap. How I always define it as tax planning is really that just literally planning out your life. What are you doing with every dollar that has been spent or are going to be spending for the year? Where the tax advice piece comes in is that execution piece. What are you executing on, right? What are you changing? And that's where you're going to your tax professional to execute on the plan that your advisor has built. It's just like when the advisor builds out the different portfolio options. That's the planning piece. The portfolio options putting in front of the client are X, Y, and Z. Client wants to choose Z. Okay, then they go to their professional to execute plan Z. So that's exactly how tax planning is. It's here's like all of your options that you have. Great. Which one do you want to execute? Okay, you're going to the professional to do that.
Awesome. All right, let's walk through like almost a live case study. I don't want to put you too much on the spot here, but okay, I'm an advisor and I'm like, let's say, I don't know, I use eMoney, MoneyGuide Pro or something like that. But like what I'm trying to bring out is where does Holistiplan really fit in like the client review or the prospect review or in the stack, right? So if I'm an advisor, you come in, am I pulling up my planning software and then I've got Holistiplan in a different tab and I've got whatever else? Like, how do you see people using this in their practice most effectively? Like if you had a model client, what does it look like? And how are they using it alongside their other tech?
Yeah, so I think it's twofold, right? You could use it as a lead gen. So a lot of times advisors are using it as a lead gen opportunity. Hey, are you interested in learning more about what your tax return can do for you? Great. Send me your return and I can send you this report. And if you'd like to meet to discuss, come in after. Where we fit mostly is in a pre-call. A lot of times the advisors are collecting that return as like a, hey, if you're new to my office, these are the 5 documents I need you to send me before our meeting. And one of them being the tax return. And then they're running Holistiplan before the meeting happens so that they have that information on hand to open up that conversation, because you don't really know what planning that client wants to do until they see what their options are. And then once they have those ideas and they've built out the scenario, that they would then use their eMoney or their portfolio management tool to like build in that tax planning piece. So we call ourselves more of a tactical platform for the advisor, right? We can't replace, nor do we want to replace like your portfolio tools. We're just like a tactical tool on top of that. So being able to open up, again, more broader conversations. Clients are looking to their advisors to have more of these like tactical conversations around insurance, estate, taxes. Like you have to figure it out where it fits. And a lot of times it's like that pre-conversation before the meeting happens.
Yeah, that's awesome. That makes a lot of sense.
This podcast is brought to you by Turncast. We make game-changing content for fintech and financial services companies. Learn more at turncast.com.
Hey, Next Mile listeners, Jessica here from Milemarker. You know, we talk a lot about reaching that next mile in your business journey, but let's be for real for just a sec. If you're an advisor, how much time are you spending wrestling with data instead of actually advising your clients? I've worked firsthand with tons of advisors over the years, helping them achieve real success and breakthrough growth. But I keep seeing the same roadblock everywhere. Brilliant advisors stuck spending hours pulling reports from their different systems, trying to create meaningful client presentations and struggling to get a clear picture of their firm's growth. Does this sound familiar? Here's what I've learned. The advisors who are scaling and growing aren't necessarily smarter. They've just figured out how to get control over their data. That's exactly why I joined Milemarker, because they've built a solution that changes everything for how you manage and grow your firm. At Milemarker, we specialize in 3 game-changing areas for firms like yours: streamlining your data management so all your systems talk to each other, automating those repetitive reporting tasks that eat up your valuable time, and creating seamless advisor and client experiences that actually help you grow your firm. The difference is night and day. Instead of spending your evenings pulling together client reports, imagine having that data automatically organized and presented exactly how you need it. Instead of guessing about your firm's performance, imagine having real-time insights that help you make strategic decisions. If you are ready to stop being held back by your data and start using it to fuel your growth, I'd love to have a conversation with you. We're offering Next Mile listeners a complimentary consultation to explore exactly how we can help you transform your advisory practice. Don't let outdated processes keep you from reaching that next mile in your firm's growth. Visit milemarker.co and mention the Next Mile podcast, and I'll personally make sure to get the insights you need to take control of your data and scale your practice. Because your time should be spent building your business, not buried in spreadsheets.
Speaking of like tactics and how the industry's changing and everything like that, you guys have gotten pretty passionate about trying to change or train rather that next generation of advisors. And so you've launched recently an academia program, right? Where you guys are doing something there. Just most people probably don't know what's going on with that. So give us the backstory. Like, what is Holistiplan's academia program?
Yeah, so academia has been a project that Roger and I have been really passionate about building out. The education and getting people excited to come into our industry has been lackluster. A lot of kids, and I say kids, they don't know that this space exists. And so we want them to understand, like, there's a place for you. There's a place for your creativity, not only in the financial planning world, but like the tech space too. So we started an academia program where professors are now using them in particularly their financial planning capstone. They're using our technology to help them grow their tax planning knowledge. So they're able to they get free access to the platform. The students can then build out their capstone projects within the tech. And then they also are getting certified. So being able to, when they go out into the job market and they want to enter into like our RA space or whatever, they can actually say that they know how to use the tech tools that these RAs are using. We've had tons of RAs and our larger broker dealers come to us asking, they only want to recruit these kids that are using our academia program. So it's just like this really great like loop of being able to get younger generations excited and into our space. And then on top of that, we're building out these endowment scholarships to every college that has given back to every Holistiplan employee. So we've started, of course, at the heart of it all at Texas A&M. We've gone to K-State. We have Texas Tech online for next year. So starting these endowment funds to allow the ability for students that are interested to enter into the financial planning degrees that they can do that if they want to. So really
That's
excited. Great. Yeah, there's going to be lots of changes, but we've got 18 colleges on board. So we've really grown it in the last year. But yeah, super excited. I haven't quite seen anyone in our space do it the way we've been doing it. And again, listening to the students just get excited about financial planning, which just sounds so nerdy, but like getting them excited about a space that gets us excited makes us want to continue to grow it.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And for those of you who don't know, the shout out to Texas A&M, the founders of Holistiplan are Aggies. So of course they're going back there. I'm curious, when these first started popping up, Texas Tech and all of that stuff, but now, I mean, do you know off the top of your head how many colleges have financial planning majors or programs going on in the country?
I think the last time I looked, there's 11,
okay.
Most of them being like ACC, SCC schools. So that's interesting dynamic for me as a West Coastie. I've got to step it up on the West Coast peeps. But yeah, so there's about 11 of them that have a true financial planning degree. And I know that number is growing, but it's interesting, right? That was not a thing. Like when you could get your degree in economics, you could get your degree in accounting or business, but there was never an actual financial planning degree.
Yeah. All right. So this is one thing I like to do is I ask our guests to get out their crystal ball and look a couple years into the future. And this is just an opportunity to make some stress-free predictions about what's going to happen in the space or in the industry over the next couple of years. So you talk to all kinds of firms, large and small. You talk to a lot of the technology people. That's one of the fun parts about sitting in the partnership seat is you get to get a 360 view of the industry as a whole. So from where Torie sits and you looking into the future, what do you think are some of the trends that are going to come to pass over the next couple of years?
I know we talk a lot about M&A in this space. I think that that is still going to continue. Hearing the goals of a lot of like the larger broker dealers and the space that they want to gobble up, it's mind blowing. And the amount of advisors they want under each branch is crazy. So I think that's not going to slow down. I think as much as we're pushing into the AI space in our world and wanting to automate as much as possible, I think there's going to be a breaking point in our space that we're going to revert back to way more in-person interactions with the clients. Technology is fantastic. Don't get me wrong. I am a tech nerd at wholeheartedly, but I think we are pushing so far into the automation of it all. Clients don't want that. They want to actually talk to a human. You're dealing with their everyday money and their lifestyle. They don't want to just be automized into some circle of whatever emailed campaigns or text messages that you're going to send out to the client. They want to actually talk to you. So I think there's going to be a tipping point that we revert back to like more of a human interaction, as much as people pushed away during COVID and staying far away from people. I think now people are going to want to come back together and not have that all that tech in between them and their advisor.
Yeah. I don't know if you listen to the show, but I have the same take that I think AI is only going to push us further into authentic in-person experiences, because we will all appreciate the efficiency gains and the lift that comes from AI, but people will yearn for, hey, is that real? Right. And I think they're going to yearn for authentic interaction when we live in a world of deep fakes and AI generated content and all of the automation, because I think it's just going to create more noise, which would be great. There's going to be a lot of good things from it, like you're saying, but I also agree. I think people are going to really lean into more in-person events. So good job security for our friend Dan Bolton. Shout out Dan, curating in-person experiences. Awesome. All right, let's move into the final segment of the show. We call this the Milemarker Minute. It's a lightning round, a series of lightning round questions aimed at getting to know you a little bit more and outside of Holistiplan. So you ready for the Milemarker Minute?
All right, let's do it.
Okay. If you could travel anywhere in the world you've never been to before, where would you go?
Dubai.
Dubai. Okay. That's a unique one. All right. You asked me to ask you this question, so I just want to preface this for everybody. Yes. Tell me your thoughts on Taylor Swift's new album.
Oh, that's way longer than a minute, and that's not fair.
That's why I put it in this segment. I needed to constrain your thoughts on Taylor Swift's new album.
Oh, that's too hard. I do think that she is going to put the Reputation vault songs on the new album because she now owns everything. She doesn't have to re-release it. So we're getting all of those on this one. Crossing fingers and toes, but that is my prediction.
And for those of you who aren't watching this on video, there is a Taylor Swift Eras Tour poster behind Torie. So she is a certified Swiftie. If you want to know more of her thoughts on Taylor Swift's album, be sure to hit her up. I'm sure she'd be happy to tell you. Okay. What is the best book you read or listened to in the past year?
I will say, not that it isn't a book that I haven't read, but my son was very much into The Outsiders. And so I reread that with him, and I forgot how amazing it was.
Classic book. That's a very good one. All right. What's the best flavor of ice cream?
Chocolate mint, of course.
Okay. All right. Are you a mountains person or a beach person?
Oh, that's just not fair. I will say the beach, but the mountains are also amazing. So that's a hard choice.
I get it. That's why we do these questions. We ask the hard-hitting questions on this podcast.
Oh, that was too hard.
All right. This is my last question for you. It's normally a fun one. Okay. There's an alternate universe from the one that you're in right now. And in this alternate universe, Torie does not work as a partnerships person in fintech. You have a completely different career that has nothing related to what you're doing now. In that alternate universe, what is Torie's career?
I want to own a flower shop, but also have like wine night where just you can drink all the rosé you want and build all the flower arrangements that you want and just come and go as you please.
Roses and rosé.
Yeah, exactly.
The name writes itself.
The name is right there.
Yeah. All right. I forgot. I have one more question for you. I've been starting to ask this one and I really like it. What is the best road trip you've ever been on?
I will say, so my dad's park ranger. So we got to do many road trips. When I was little, he was stationed in Whistler. So we would go up to Whistler and back to Northern California. So that was always really fun. I also love those trips because my dad, there's no slapping, but we would always be able to drink Coca-Cola and red vines. And that was the only thing my dad would pack, hands down. And it's the only time we ever got those items. I'd say the Whistler to Northern California is always my favorite.
That's awesome. All right, Torie, you made it through the mile marker minute. This is a really fun conversation. I appreciate you coming on, dropping some insights, telling us about what the future of tax planning looks like, the difference between tax planning and tax execution or tax advice, and what the future of the industry looks like. And then sharing your mile marker minute. It was a fun convo, and I'm glad you joined us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You got it. All right, everybody, that's been another episode of Next Mile. Please make sure you click follow or subscribe wherever you're listening to this, and be sure to leave us a 5-star review so that people who've never heard conversations like this one can find great convos like the one we just had with Torie. But in the meantime, enjoy every mile.